Welcome to the Gridiron Insight. I'm your host, Marcus Dent, and we got a very exciting show for you guys tonight. I got my sidekick, Jason Watkins from the Hall of Fame. What's going on, Jason?
What's up, big cuz? How's it going?
Oh man, we kicking it, man. Just kicking it. Got a lot of good information, man. We're gonna give to some of the parents, some of the high school um,
I'm pumped
kids and
about this
coaches.
one, man. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got the man, the myth, Mr. Jeff Martin, director of National Director of Scouting
Yep.
for Catapult.
Yep.
And man, we go way back, Jeff. Man, we go way back to our FBU days together, man, back in
hmm
2016.
hmm
And you know, in this recruiting world, everything's just changed. Everything has
Oh,
changed
yes.
from the way everything is going. But one thing that I've seen in the last couple years is the technology
Yep.
and how technology affects recruiting.
Right.
And that's something, we had you guys come down at our combine down in Jackson last year, and it was a big success. Um, just, from where you guys started at and where you are right now, what everybody want to know is why, how does this affect their kid being recruiting if one of these universities is using Catapult to kind of measure their measurables and things like that?
Right. So, it's just like when Huddle came out. I was just getting out of high school coaching then, and everybody's like, who's going to waste their time uploading film? And then everybody's doing it. Well, the same
Right.
thing happened. I worked for Exos Digital, which was the computer systems the colleges used instead of Huddle. Catapult bought XOs to get their GPS devices in America. So I was the first one out of the whole entire company that started putting it on kids in high school because it just seemed interesting to see
Yes.
what true game speed would be on a kid, and it's just taken off. I started off with three of our little Catapult GPSs, and of course, the old everybody makes fun of is the old sports bra.
The
You know,
bra.
yep. So Anthony Richardson, the quarterback for the Colts, was one of the first people to wear it in high school when I put it on him in high school and stuff. So it just opened our eyes of, how coaches, the 40s and speed, how they measure speeds all done with time
Mhm.
instead of, you know, true speed, miles per
Right.
hour. So, we just started putting it on kids in games and getting actual game speeds with pads on and everything. And, you know, the colleges love it because they all wear it. So they know it's
Yeah.
true. And then we started putting it on kids in 7-on-7s and camps. And, I was just in the Carolinas this past weekend and we had it on 500 kids on Saturday
Wow.
and Sunday,
Wow.
so, uh, you know, and for the recruiting part, they can't question a kid's speed.
Correct.
You know, that if it's game speed, that's different. But all we do it for the camps and stuff is to get, okay, how's this kid run? And how fast does he accelerate? How fast does he decelerate? It's just not all about top speed, but that is the main thing.
Right.
So, it's just fun. I mean, kids just they work harder with this stuff on.
They do. They do. I
It's
saw that firsthand.
Well,
yeah.
it's automatically, so if I've got this correct, it's automatically, this is one of those verified times.
Oh yeah.
So, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
so important. We've talked about this a lot with recruiting, Marcus, is that it's you have to have the right guy that's timing you or whatever. But with this on, what they ran.
Right.
You know what they ran in the game if
Right.
they were wearing it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like last year when we got through with the camp. Soon as the camp was over, man, and Jeff can remember this, Memphis and some of the other schools was hitting us up because they wanted those times. They wanted, and it was, I think it might have been a couple of defensive backs. They wanted to see
Yes.
how quick they changed directions.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, these vests and this GPS system is totally different from running a laser time or running a 5-10-5. Don't
Right.
get me wrong, all that stuff is good in its time, but this is what give you a actual definition of what
Yeah.
that kid can do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a kid here actually in Tallahassee. His dad played at Florida State. His older son's at Florida State, and his younger son's going to be a senior. Well, he went down to the Under Armour camp in Orlando.
Mhm.
Well, with lasers, if you just twitch, if your hand twitches a little bit or something, that timer starts early, you get a
That's
slow time. And he got a slow time. He ran a 4.8, and he's faster than that. So his dad called me up. I said, yeah. He came over to the house. I gave him one to borrow. The kid's the last 3 weeks, he's worn it to training sessions and one 7-on-7 tournament. In one of his training sessions, he got over 22 miles per hour. And Sunday night, he got over 20 miles per hour. Well, guess what
crazy.
happened? Guess what happened on Monday? He got his first Power 5 offer, Georgia Tech.
Right. I mean,
So
because those numbers don't lie when you
no,
put that GPS on.
no, it doesn't.
And that's something that, well, let me ask you this. What do
Yep.
you say to the high school coaches? The high school coaches that are watching this and saying, "Hey, look, do I really want to invest in this?" I mean, how does it help the high school coaches when it
Well,
comes to not only just recruiting, just evaluating their talent?
right. Well, and I tell this to high school coaches all the time, including this past weekend. You know, there are things that you don't realize, that how hard you push a kid or anything like that during practice, getting ready for a game and stuff like that, that just this stuff will open your eyes of the data that it gives you. A kid wearing one in a game in Mobile, 3 or 4 years ago, the kid was catching punts and kickoffs in pregame and sprinting, and then individual time, and then team time. And then they went inside, and then they came out he ran for 3 miles during pregame.
That's a lot.
So he ran 4 miles during the first half. So by halftime, he had run for 7 miles. So he was gassed for the second
Mm,
half. So those are things that you figure out as a coach. Well, the rest of the year they just cut it and tossed it. There was no more sprinting the punt returns and
right.
kickoff returns, and they even have their own catapults now, because you can monitor your player management and keep them fresher during the week.
Definitely.
Briarwood Christian in Birmingham, they have 80 pods, 80 GPSs, so they all wear it every day. They know if a kid stays at 65% player load during the week, he doesn't cramp on Friday night. If he goes over 65 or
Wow.
under 65, he's going to cramp on Friday night. They've been wearing it since Catapult came over here. So they got the numbers to back it up. And
Yeah.
so that's what it helps with that. And then you remember back in the days when we all played, the trainer says he can go 50% today.
Right.
This will actually tell you. So you can, that's how the colleges are getting these kids back so soon after injuries, is they can actually, okay, as soon as he hit 50%, he's done. The
Shut
high
him down.
school, yeah. And then the high school version, it's not live like the college one, because it's a lot more expensive. Is like on this graphic right here. You can sit there and look at the player load. And this is a kid at the combine I was at Saturday. He had a 76% player load for a combine, which is excellent.
Wow.
That's all your practices and combines. You want to be anywhere from 50 to 70%. Games and is the only time you want to be 100% on that. But it
Okay.
also measures how many yards they run, how many of those sprint yards. So you can see there he ran for 5,900 yards in the camp, and he sprinted for 620 yards of that, which means anything over 12 miles per hour.
Mm,
And so with that ratio right there, he had over a 10% work ratio, which is the average for an NFL player for a work ratio. Power plays, he had 35 power plays. And if you see all those arrows up there in the graphic, those
uh-huh.
are his power plays. So in a game, you want high power plays, especially being all those red ones, which means how fast they got a certain distance on a play, and how they did an acceleration and deceleration. It's like everything pulled together is a great play. This kid had 35 of them during the combine. And
Wow.
you can see the Doppler radar underneath it a little bit. Just
Yes.
just like a rain radar, the red is the heaviest and the greens are the lightest and stuff, but you can see where your kid's spending most of his energy and stuff like that. And this was a defensive lineman that got 21 miles per hour. Now, that's
Wow.
extraordinary, but he's one of those high school defensive ends that's probably going to play with his hand up at the next level. Now the
Okay.
coaches can see he's got the speed to put his hand up and play at the next level.
I mean, that's extraordinary. I mean, and that's what we want to kind of get, the kids out here to see. A lot of combines don't have them, some do. So,
Yeah,
if you're a kid out there and you want a verified time, if you go into a combine or whatever situation is camp and they're using this, be aware your times are going to be what your times are.
right.
Marcus, I know we've been talking a lot the last few weeks about the scout. You got Jim Nagy at Oklahoma now. That's he's an NFL scout and stuff like that. And that we heard last week that he's probably not going to be relying on 247,
No,
and rivals.
No.
But how much these are the kind of things that would get less people doubting what those rankings are on 3247 and rivals if they're always hooked up to this machine, right? I mean, the data is the data is what the data is, and if you're out there showing this day to day, how do you? I mean, I guess how have you guys been able to show that how accurate it is? I mean, obviously you've been testing it for a while and using it for years now, but how did you become like the trusted source in this wearable technology like that?
well, Catapult was really, they were from Australia. They were really big in English Premier League soccer, Australian rules football, rugby, all that stuff. So when they came over here, actually the first college to buy it was FSU, and Jimbo Fisher, and then of course Nick Saban bought it next. So they trust the multiple, the gyroscopes in it and stuff, because it's all been, they actually just came out with the new one, the up and new one that they just came out with for the colleges this past week. So they're always expanding and stuff. I mean, it's probably half the size of the high school one. I mean, it's still not big, but
Right.
it's probably and it does a lot more. Like somebody just said, lateral speed. That the college version does do lateral speed. This one just breaks it down a little bit easier for high school coaches who don't have 100 GAs and stuff to break down everything, that
Right.
a high school head coach or a strength guy can look and say, here are the key components that we're looking for in the high school, and that's what this gives. And for us with the recruiting,
Allows it to be more scientific, I guess.
right.
Yeah.
And, there's some schools that have it, high schools that have it. The trainer actually takes care of it. The athletic trainer, because they want to see the numbers. It also tells you how many calories they burn. You remember back in the day when two-a-days in college, you had to weigh in before practice, weigh in after
Right
practice,
after practice. Yeah.
and then they give you a jug of Pedialyte or Gatorade to drink, depending on how much calories you burn or weight you
Yeah, I
lost.
remember
Well,
those days.
this is the same thing. If a trainer gets it plugged in and downloads it, they can text the kid, hey, man, you burned 1,200 calories in practice today. You need to drink a couple extra Gatorades. You need to eat some whatever, because it's big with the health too. I mean, player management with it is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I seen that, just talking with Isaiah, some of the things that Oklahoma uses it for. What about recruiting, as in, let's just say Alabama or FSU ever said, okay, look, here's the deal. We got two kids we want to see.
Yep.
And I want you to put the device on these two kids, and they look at the data and come back and does that. I mean, do you have that situation
Oh yeah, we
a lot?
the school that's been using us the most since we started doing this is University of Georgia.
Okay.
They'll call us up and say, hey, and the stud wide receiver that's a freshman at Ohio State that killed everybody this year, his senior year of high school, Georgia wanted confirmed game speed, and one of my guys drove down to Chaminade and put it on, and he didn't even get to get loose, but he begged coach in the second half because they were winning the playoff game so bad.
All right.
They all convinced the coach to let him get on kickoff team, and even though it was kicking a touchback, all 10 guys sprinted to the 1 yard line and wanted that top speed. So,
Wow, that's amazing.
oh yeah, but now Mississippi State, Auburn, Alabama,
Okay.
they finally realized, oh, hey, you do this? Yes, we've been telling you we'll do. So I was in Mississippi 5 times this season. I had to go put it up a Lake Cormorant kid,
Yes.
Hartfield kid, Hattiesburg, just all kind. Went to Holmes County Central for somebody,
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, it's they want the data, and a couple of our clients offered them the next morning because they got confirmed speed.
Yes.
So
Yes. And yeah, like I say, it was I know it was Memphis, Arkansas State, and a couple more people that was asking us for it. And that's what they want. Those kids got offers
yeah,
because they wanted yeah, they wanted that speed.
hmm
And now I'm just going to be honest with you. Since we're doing the catapult vest, we're not doing 40s anymore.
right,
We're not doing 5-10-5s.
right,
We're not doing L drills because all the data that you really want game that has to do with the game and your movement of directions is right here in the data for the catapult vest.
yep,
Anybody can practice for the 5-10-5.
right,
Anybody can practice for the L drill
right,
and get it down to a science
right,
and get your times better. But this is actual movement, actual time
right,
that you can't cheat.
right, and,
And I'm
and
not saying because somebody
right,
right.
right, right,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely. That's what you
I
want.
mean, the fastest we've ever had in a game is 22.96 miles per hour.
Wow.
Linebacker, who's now a starting linebacker at Georgia, but he did it on the first play of the game. And the running back, I had it on the running back for the opponent. He broke along. He was the outside linebacker to the field, and they ran a zone read into the boundary, and he was gone. Well, that running back got 20.5 miles per hour, which is pretty good. 22.96 hawked him down and tackled him. You know, so but his player load for the whole game was 71%. So he
Ooh,
didn't do jack the rest of the game.
dang.
So the coach, who's a friend of mine, because I used to coach at the school, I let him use 10 pods for the rest of the year and said, here you go. That kid never in a game got below 94% player load the rest of the season. Not
Mm,
once. He played his
that's
butt off every game and showed.
wow. And see, that's the difference right now. High school coaches, if some of you guys are in the chat or whatever the situation is, it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a game changer. I
Oh, yeah.
know I talked to the head coach at Itawamba High School, and we talked about it a little bit last year.
Yeah.
And he's going to look into doing something,
Right.
a little later on because he's looking at the data and a lot of schools, a lot of high schools in Mississippi, they just now kind of coming in to seeing what it actually can do for
Right.
your program. It could do a
Right.
lot.
Well,
You go
there
ahead.
there are a couple of companies, like there's a lot in the private school league that actually use one of our competitors, and one of those competitors was the team that I had to put it on for Alabama. They took off
Wow.
theirs. They had to take theirs off. They took theirs off and let me put it on the two that I needed for Alabama because ours comes with the recruiting and scouting part. So all
Right.
this data goes out to all the colleges. It just doesn't sit there in your computer, and you have to tweet it out and all that stuff. As soon as the game's played and you email me the spreadsheet of the data, it goes on their profile and goes out in a report on Monday. And
So every kid, I just want to get it
mhm,
straight for everybody that's in the message and that's in the chat. So when a kid gets get playing in the game, you take that data, you put it in the computer, put it in the system, so everybody that has access to that can get that data.
250 colleges, and it doesn't cost the high school or the kid a thing.
That is a
And
damn
that's
game
and
changer.
that's
That's
and
the
that's
hardest
going.
thing about recruiting, right? Is if you, it's hard to get noticed, and this gets those numbers that are the
Right.
numbers you got to be in order to be at that level. It's automatically going out in reports to every one of these schools. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
If you're a high school coach and you listen to this,
Yeah.
I mean I've had some call me just as yesterday, coach, is there any way you could, I'm like, you got to go get verified time. You can't sit up here and tell me your son running 4 or 5. You got to get a verified time.
Right.
And there's no better way. And this guy's a high school coach, and he's asking me. He's a high school coach, and he's asking me what can I do to help his son? But you got to go get verified times if you really want to help. Call the booster club up and say, "Hey, look, we need to get about 15 of these pods."
Yep. And
You,
if
you
they
don't
and if
have
they
to.
and if the high school wants to see how it works, I will come and put it on them. I'll put it.
Hey,
I'm going to Carver, Montgomery. I was supposed to do it this past Monday, but the storms. I'm going back this coming week. I'm going to do a little pro day with them. I'm going to measure their height, weight, and wingspan, and then I'm going to put up the pods on them. And then we're going to go outside and run a bit, and all that verified data. See, when you talk about verified data, these kids don't know how to run 40s.
no, they
They
don't.
slip or they twitch and the laser starts. Like I told y'all earlier, I had a kid run a 5 flat this past Sunday, but he ran 22 miles per hour.
Man,
Uh,
It doesn't matter what your time was.
no,
You hit a top speed.
yeah. I mean, because not kids, you don't see colleges running 40s for time until it's time
no.
to get ready for their pro day or the NFL combine. Then they're hiring a trainer to come teach them how to run a 40.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody in the
You just saw
comments,
Sanders doing it.
yes, what last week?
Shiloh was he had the guy that was at the combine that did all the timing at the combine came in and worked with him for like 3 days
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, they spent a lot of money on that.
Mm-hmm.
They spent a lot of money on that. So Jeff, tell me this, man. There's a lot of pro guys that wear it.
Oh, yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of colleges too.
So I'm trying to. I know the colleges wear it,
Mm-hmm.
and are the NFL guys getting this data also?
Yeah, most of your NFL guys, they're wearing it during practice. They're not wearing
Okay.
it during the games.
Okay.
There's another company that the league signed with or whatever
Mhm.
that they use for the games. But they use, I mean, you can see Tyreek Hill. We used to go to Tyreek Hill's camps when he went to Miami, and he knew the catapults and he knew what his top speed was and everything else. And, so they all wear it. You just don't, I mean, you see it like with the Kyler Murray thing a couple of years ago. And I got a picture of Gronk in my phone wearing it because when we first started doing it, the kid said, "Man, I ain't putting no sports bra on." And then
I was
I'd
just
show them
about to
Gronk
say
wearing
something.
it, and they would say, "Okay, now we don't have to fight kids to put. They want to wear it."
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
They,
When they came to the camp, they was looking.
oh yeah,
They was trying to get one on. Hey, I said, man,
oh yeah,
that's
oh yeah,
you'll get one.
oh yeah,
But
oh
yeah,
yeah,
man, it's a game changer, and that's one thing that we wanted to do. Just wanted to bring you know type things to the light to some of the parents because I mean there's so many questions out there. Everything's changed so much,
right.
Jeff, over the last 10 years, man.
Oh,
It's unreal, and it's hard for us to keep up. So you think about a parent that don't know anything
right,
about football,
right,
is almost impossible.
right.
And I know what I'm seeing more of. I'm seeing more catapult vests at combines and camps and things of that nature because you need those verified times.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know, I remember back in the day when you was doing it on hand, and the coaches they didn't, they got away from that. So
Yeah.
everybody started buying lasers,
Yep.
and guess what? I'm gonna be honest with you. When they first came out with the lasers, the kids didn't want to run on the lasers.
Mm-mm. Nope.
They hated if you put lasers on your camp, they didn't come because they
Right.
didn't want that messed up time
Right.
because they didn't know how to run.
Right. Yep.
And now when they see the vest, they're like, "Oh, I can just be myself, and I got true times coming."
Yep. Oh,
So
it's phenomenal to watch. Because you when you do it long enough, especially in games, you can say that kid just got 20 something miles per hour. I could just tell. Um, these with the high school one who just put that, Jimmy. This is straight line speed and cuttings, acceleration, deceleration, stuff like that. Laterals on our college ones and pro ones.
yeah,
But it's the game's changed with it. The kids play harder. You don't have to fight kids to condition because you always get like Briarwood Christian. Nobody does helmet stickers that much anymore, but they give them a sticker to put on their locker type thing of the top miles per hour in the game. But even during conditioning, you sit there and go, okay, who is the fastest kid today? And it might not be the kid who came in first.
Mm.
Last summer, TK Norman from Carver Montgomery signed at Texas A&M. The kid from Enterprise, Eric, who signed with Auburn's free safety, and then the running back at Jackson, Alabama, who is going to be a sophomore. They all raced each other. TK came in first at 23.2 miles per hour. The Winters kid from Enterprise came in second with 22.71, but the running back slipped on the start, and you could tell on video he was coming. He got 23.98 in a 40-yard dash.
That's a difference maker, bro.
Oh, yeah.
That's a difference maker,
Now,
man.
with those speeds, they can't sustain that 23.98 like a college kid, or because they're not, you get more mature and they
Right.
train you to sustain it a lot longer. But now that kid's got the ability to get that type of speed. I mean, he got 22.5 in full pads on a 70-yard touchdown run. So he can still do it with pads on too.
Man, that's getting it. That's getting up. That's picking them up and putting them down, bro.
Right.
I mean, that's
But-
just exactly what that is, man.
But
And
when you're
you're doing this in game situations, so it's not about, who cares what their 40 time is? Nobody gives about that.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
what I
mean-
told. That's what I told the kid the other day when he said he ran a 5 flat. But I said, you got 22 miles per hour. I don't care what the 5 flat says. And that's what our
Right.
colleges will see. They don't care what that. They're going to show the laser speed. Now the young kid Saturday, he got the fastest 40. He ran a 4.53, and he got 23 miles per hour. That's more impressive than the 4.53.
Most definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so let's just say from a medical standpoint, like
Mhm.
heart rate and stuff like that. So does that, I mean, are they used, do they use that to monitor
The
like heart
colleges,
rate?
the college
colleges
ones do. Yeah, it's
Okay.
got a little metal strap that goes in the bottom of it, and it measures heart rate and stuff. We don't do that in
For
the
high
high
school.
school version, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
But
I mean, it's the whole thing is like I said with that 65%. If you're going balls to wall the whole freaking week, your kids aren't going to be fresh Friday. But if you taper it down all week, they're fresher on Friday night, and you're going to get less cramping.
And they know that if they have it at the high schools, like where they are as far
Oh, yeah.
as
Oh,
like
yeah.
rest and all
That's-
that for those kids.
Most of the high schools that have bought these things, I got like 30 schools in Alabama that have them. They bought them after I put it on their kids in a game for recruiting. I drive everywhere. I'm not just putting it on the couple of kids that Alabama wants it on. I go to Lake Cormorant. I need to put it on one joker. And I put it on 26 kids. I put it on all starting 22 and 4 backups. Just to see the whole data for everybody.
everybody.
Everybody. So, and honestly, as bigs, the big uns come up, they're like, why am I putting one of these on? I don't care what your top miles per hour is. I want to see your acceleration and deceleration. Can you get out on the edge quick on a screenplay? Can you trap or counter, and pull and get around the corner and get up fast to your top speed? That's what I want to see with you.
Hey, high school coaches, we got it right here. You're getting all the information that you need, for your team. I mean, it's a building block that I would have never would imagine 10 years ago.
Right.
And it's here.
It really is data made easy, right?
It's
there's
data
no
made easy, man.
question about it.
It's one of the it's the best system out there that I know of.
Mhm.
That collects the data for high school kids, and you got a lot of trainers and stuff like that that's starting to kind of get into using them because they can use that data, to say, okay, he's here. This is what we need to measure you by, So it's a lot of different entities that uses it, but we want to let the parents know.
Yeah.
If you go into a camp and it's got a catapult system, this is what you finna get.
Yep.
This is
And-
what you're gonna get, and it doesn't matter. I know you got every school and I'm not gonna say every school, but every conference in your Power Four conferences. I know there's at least a team in every Power Four conference that uses Catapult,
Oh, it's the all Power Fours, even Group Fives.
even Group
Uh,
Five. Yeah.
you're 50% FCS. South
Oh,
has them, Southern Miss has them. Millsaps is going to get them soon.
wow, that's a
Yeah,
D3.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
Does
uh,
this
yeah. Go
do
ahead.
you think this ends up making it like we've been kind of focused in on the on 3 and 247 and all that stuff. Does this kind of make the stars, does it make you expand it, or does it, I mean, because here's the thing, when you're talking about 4-star, 5-star, this star and all that, a lot of it is being able to know what you're looking at. You know, Marcus, you talked about that you can speed up film. There's things that you can do with film that's going to be misleading. They want to look at you in person, but with
numbers.
something like this actually kind of gives you data that you wouldn't have. Does this bring a lot more kids into play to be able to come and play? I feel like they look at about 1,500 guys, and there might be 10, 15,000 guys around the country playing.
Right. Right. Well, the big thing is it's all like that graphic you put up of our software. It had the graph at the top right. That's their top speed every second of the game or the event. So you can mouse over and see when they hit that top speed, and then line it up with your film and say, and tweet out, this kid got 22.5 miles per hour on this play, and you can see it.
You can
Now,
see it.
yeah, so you see that top speed graphic at the top. You can see those two spikes there towards the
Yeah,
middle. The
yeah. I
first
see
one
those.
is his first 40 that he ran, and he got 21.58. And then the next one was his next 40. And then the break, and then they went to individual and team as the other spikes towards the end. But you can actually mouse over that and see the exact time of when he did that.
Wow.
Wow.
So, you can do things. Now, you know, uh, the whole breakdown of it all, there's fancy things that you can do with it and stuff like that, but I mean it's such a great tool that you just don't get to see. You don't get to know all this stuff. You say this kid ran a 4.940, well, they think he's slow, but then you go, oh crap, he ran a 21.58 miles per hour. That's what they
Yeah.
want, and that's what the
Well,
colleges want.
yeah.
you know
You got guys. I read a couple of the chats. You can't measure heart, but you can measure. Yeah, I understand that. But if you don't have the measurables
It's
and the
that you can.
speed and the time, I don't care. This game you just can't play there,
Now,
and that's just the way it is.
yeah, and to what he said, can't measure heart. This is just a part of the recruiting.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. Like, we measured height and weight. It's funny when you go measure kids and you're not their doctor or their mama, of how much they're going to complain. My doctor says I'm 5'11", and I said, son, I'm 5'7", and I'm looking you straight in the eye. Come on.
Nah.
So that the heart thing, you're right, man. I freaking, when I talk to kids, I listen to kids at camps when quarterbacks are yelling at their receivers in front of everybody to telling them they ran the wrong thing. Dude, pull them to the side and talk to them. Don't,
Yeah.
you're a man now. Come on, you got to do the right
Yeah.
thing. So I measure all that stuff too.
Yeah, and like I said, the system, man, I can't wait, to June 1st to get here, man, because we got some exciting kids that'll be at the camp, man. I'm really excited, man, about seeing some of these young guys because we got a bunch of ninth graders. I mean, it's a big flux of ninth graders, and
Mhm.
man, when you can get that data on that kid that early, and you got a ninth grader, peaking at 20 or whatever, man, he's going to get better.
Right, and it feels like it gets the stuff that you have to worry about, and you're not talking about the stuff that really matters. So once you know that they're this size, this is their speed, this is what they can get up to, this is what they're doing, then now you get to find out who they are and
Right.
for the
Right.
recruiting process, right? So
But
I think it takes forever to get to that point at this moment, and I think it's leaving a lot of guys out because they're not at these camps or whatever it is,
Right.
well, what it does when you look at this data, it says this kid is recruitable. He has
Right, get you
everything
in,
else.
to get your
Yeah,
foot in the door.
get your foot in the door. Now we can go look at some other thing. We can go turn on the film. We could go look at his character, whatever, or vice versa. They might have done all that and don't know, we're just not sure.
Right.
And now you take this data and you plug it in. Now you have a complete package.
Mhm.
This is not the tell all of whether
Right.
I'm going to get this kid or not. This is just an important part
Well, and
of the
it
recruiting
feels like
process
you
now.
guys are evolving over, the time. Obviously it starts here and it's just getting better all the time.
Right.
What is this thing going to look like in 3 or 4 years?
Well, it's the big key. The big key of it all is everybody sees this logo and they go, "That's too expensive for us," because they've seen it at the colleges and they've seen it at the pros. It's not that expensive. It's the same as a Huddle subscription for the most part.
Yes.
So once they realize that they could help their team and their players in health management, their player management, their, recruiting. You got the kids that little Johnny's parents are complaining that he doesn't play much. Well, you put it on little Johnny in the starter during practice, and that starter, the player output's so much better, and all the other thing is just another piece to help them saying, well, look, here's what your son does at practice. Here's what, because they don't understand looking at football,
No.
but they can look at numbers
They can look at
and know
numbers and tell.
comparing to each one. So there's all kinds of things. And once they get it figured out that, I think Oak Grove just bought them. There's a few other schools. Gulfport has them already. And there's
Yeah.
a few other ones that are in the works of getting them. But it's just, you're an ex-coach. You're an ex-player. You remember first day after off season starts, you bench, squat, clean, max. And you do it at the end of the season, at the end of summer or whatever, to see your gains. Well,
Yes.
nobody does anything for speed training. Does your speed training actually work? Well, now you can get a base number on all your kids that first week of off season, putting it
Yes.
on different people every day. And now you got a base and you can put it on different people all during the off season. And then in the summer, you do it again. And now you can see if your speed training is actually working.
That's right. And that's something that, you got a million trainers out there now.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yeah.
you got young kids that are going to this guy, they're going to this guy. But if you really want to be serious about what you're doing and you really want to find out what your numbers are, here it is.
Right.
Catapult is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Shady McCoy got all pissy about with Chip Kelly in Philly. It was like, tracking his sleep and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the evolution that it started. Shady didn't want to be tracked because he wanted to go out and do what he wanted to do.
Right.
But Chip was way ahead of his time, it feels like, when it came to that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Well, I won't mention the Power 5 SEC school, but they have their practice script and it's color coded. If they don't hit a certain number on all their players, because the ones in college, those are live. So your trainers can be sitting there looking at their player loads, miles per hour, all that while you're going. If they don't hit a certain player load or whatever during that group, that 5-block session, he starts the whole session over.
Wow.
So he never has to. And I asked him, I said, do you have to start over many times? He said, maybe the first couple of weeks, a couple of times. We don't know more.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And that's a difference maker, man. That's
changing the way you practice and everything, man.
Changing the way you practice. Because here's the thing: when a kid puts that vest on, he knows that he's been,
Right.
watched,
Right.
timed.
Right.
All his information,
no hiding. You can't hide there.
His effort, everything goes into that.
Right.
There's no hiding once you put that vest on. So yeah, I mean, you practice at a high level.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me as a high school coach, that's number one reason for me getting it right there. I mean, hey, it's almost like scared straight.
Mm-hmm. I went to a school in the summer in July last year. They were thinking about buying them. And so I went and they had prospects. So I said, yeah, I'll come up. I went up there. It was a normal workout during the week in the summertime. But in this state in Alabama, you can practice. You can have helmets on, and stuff. So I put it on them after they lifted. And then they went outside. And I haven't been in coaching for 15 years, been doing this a long time. and they were running 110s right after workout, right after weightlifting. And those kids were, just looking down.
Yeah.
Well, then they had a 2-hour practice, and the whole time the coaches are yelling, why are y'all being so sloppy? What I said, y'all just ran 10 110s before you start. These kids aren't in shape yet. And then they wanted me to do a good telling to get really good speeds is like a half 5-10. So you go from the goal line to the 5, back to the goal line, and then sprint
Yeah.
40 yards, all in one movement. So you get an acceleration, a deceleration, acceleration, and then top speed all in
High
one.
speed.
Well, I wanted to do that, and I'm like, no, coach, these kids are too tired. He goes, do it. Those kids got better speeds in that than they did during the 110s because they were racing each other and trying to prove to their coach that they were okay.
That's amazing.
You don't have to fight kids to condition. I said it before.
That's
Yeah, I mean
wild,
that's
man.
that's that's super wild. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just like when we were and my partner Dave,
Hypnotism and stuff, man. You're teaching them to do it without them. I mean, you don't even have to tell them to do it. They're just doing it.
Right.
right, and he wasn't he had heard of it, but he didn't understand it. And once he started seeing those numbers, he was like, "We're never doing a 40 again." I mean, we're not because we had them, go from sideline to sideline, kind of the same thing you was talking about, and that's how we got the data.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and they were putting out, Jack.
Oh yeah.
I think we had a couple of kids. I think we had one kid hit 21 that day.
Oh no, we
And
had we had a few kids get 22 that day.
oh, did it? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so and that data was used,
Mhm.
you know, to help boost their recruiting.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I could say any parent out there, and
If
and
you want
you
to get
can
recruited, you better get on this.
you better get on it. And then the thing about it is, if I'm a parent and I got a young kid, I'm buying one.
Yep.
I'm buying one just to put on him. Now I can measure from
Are they
the
for
eighth or
sale
ninth grade.
individually? You don't have to buy them as a school or any of that kind
They
of stuff.
used to sell it individually, but it
They know
became
that more.
such a hassle with customer support and stuff that they just went to team sales.
Team
But
sales.
that's the thing is you become a big person in your booster club or your middle school travel team or your 7-on-7 program
Sure.
and you get them to buy it. Now you're getting all your training sessions on it and then you're getting your game stuff and then like there's a 7-on-7 team in Gulf Shores. He bought them for a 7-on-7 team, then he lets Gulf Shores High School use them during the football season.
Yeah. And I was talking to one of my guys, and we're probably gonna purchase some this fall.
Yeah.
We're probably
Yeah.
gonna purchase something this fall to put it on my. I got on my 15U team. I got like 8 or 9 kids that already have, FBS offers,
Right.
and so I would like to put it on all of them and just to see what the numbers are. And here's another thing: you can actually compare your numbers
Oh yeah.
to other
Best
kids
players
that,
in the country.
yeah, some of the best players in the country.
You can compare your stuff. You can do splits and stuff in the software. You can compare the kid first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter and see if he's playing with the same player load and intensity and speed and stuff for each quarter or coming out at halftime. You know, how's his fourth quarter? Is his fourth quarter as good as his first quarter? That type of stuff. If you go, okay, how did we lose this game in the last 5 minutes? Well, look at your kids the last 5 minutes
They were
of the
gassed.
game.
Gas,
They were gassed.
man.
None of your kids got anywhere top speed or acceleration, or it also measures impacts, guys.
Trash.
It measures impacts. So a linebacker laying somebody out, or if your quarterback, if he's got 10 impacts in a game, unless he's a dual threat and he's running a lot, but like in practice, you say, oh shit, he got hit 5 times today. We need to put a
Mm.
green jersey on him. There's no way he needs to be taking 5 hits because an impact is a heavy hit with it on.
It's just like a kid in practice. Let's say you got a kid in practice that's running a bunch of different routes, and just because you're trying to look and see something, you don't really realize how many times he's ran.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then at the end of the day, you're like, man, this kid had, you know, X, Y, and Z. We can't do that for him
Nope.
tomorrow. We gotta shut that down. We gotta
Spend more time teaching than running.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
that kid, hey, look, we can't. You're not gonna. You only gonna do X, Y, and Z today
Right.
because
Right.
you did so much yesterday. We want to
Exactly.
keep you at a certain level.
Right.
It's game changer.
Yeah.
That's game changer.
Yeah.
Like I said, for coaches, booster clubs. If you guys out here listening,
I can
There
only
you
imagine where you're going to be in 3 years, though. Like what the technology is going to look like then.
Yeah. It's
It's
crazy.
yeah.
so y'all,
I mean,
so
our stuff's eventually evolving that you're going to be able to measure vertical with it on.
oh, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the things, if you can, some of the things that's coming along, with this thing that is coming along in the next year or so that you think
Well,
going to happen.
it's for the colleges and the pros. It's an all-in-one thing. So like Mississippi State or Ole Miss or Southern Miss, they have Catapult everything. So now they can come in after practice and their data's already downloaded because it's live. And same thing with their video, so now they can say, okay, when he pulled that hamstring, what was he doing? And they can see what his analytics were with the Catapult and the video to see what he did wrong to get that popped hamstring or whatever. The new thing this year was sideline video in the colleges.
Okay.
They could watch video, right? They
Hmm.
passed that. Well, SEC has a Catapult League deal. All the SEC schools use Catapult on the sideline. So the GAs that are in the press box typing in all the plays as they're going into the system, now on the sidelines, like huddle sideline
Oh, hold the sideline. We used that when I was
Yeah.
for
coaching.
high school, you get a little data in there if somebody's up there putting something in. Well, now the college coaches can pull up that iPad and they have it with the tendencies and everything of the whole game, plays, everything. So they could do it all right
Like
there.
in-game scouting and shit.
In-game scouting of their opponent for themselves right then.
They're gonna
That's
catch
different, man.
Oh, it's
I
amazing.
mean,
It's freaking phenomenal.
so let me
You
ask
need
you this,
Connor
Jeff.
Stallions, bro. You got Catapult.
Yeah.
So when will that ever be available to high school guys?
We tried building the high school since I was a coach. I went to the home office once a month to see what they were doing, tell them what we needed to do, all that stuff. And we built a huddle like pro thing, but it's not the part that we don't have. Like they could turn the college one on for the high schools and charge less, but it's the support. So you're talking about 140 Division I football teams use it compared to 14,000 high school.
Oh yeah.
So
That's a big
that
difference.
becomes the issue of, you got a big company that you bring in lots of money with the colleges and the pros. It's peanuts with the high school, and I hate it
Right.
because I want it. I told them, and we were going to do it. We were just going to give our product away to the high schools just to
Mhm.
make Huddle upset, and just so we could get the video back then when we did video. We
Right.
don't do video anymore because Huddle made it so hard for us. So we just get all information, data, evaluations, all that kind of stuff. And, it's like some of those programs you see out the AI that they do the speeds on high school kids from their Huddle, where it
Yeah.
shows them running with the speed on it and stuff.
Yes.
That can be manipulated so bad. Like you
Yes.
said earlier about speeding it up, you can change frame rates and all that to make it seem however fast or slow you want to.
And
This is the
I've had
GPS.
colleges. Yeah, I've had colleges say that.
Yeah.
Like, man, they get the kid to camp, they invite the kid to camp, and they get him to camp. It's like, man,
No.
You ain't close.
I mean,
Not
it
close
used
to
to be a thing back in the day. Film don't lie. Now
Right.
that's a lie
Right.
because film does lie now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any high school coach tell you, you go out there and you put it on film, they're gonna get you. That's a lie.
It might get you an invite, but you're gonna have to
get
prove
you.
it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to continue to prove it.
Right.
I don't know no coach that sees film on a kid and without anything else say, I'm finna offer him. Not
Right.
not at that level, not at the
Right.
highest level.
Right.
I mean, that
Right.
kid needs to come to camp. It need to be some data on him somewhere,
They have
somehow
to come
before he
and
makes
watch
that
him
out.
play a football game.
Right.
Right.
Watch them play a football game, come to a camp, or like you said, have verified data.
Yeah.
Well, Parkview High School in Arkansas won like 3 or 4 straight 5A state championships in Arkansas. They have 20 catapults. So there's this running back who's gone to college now from last year. When he was a junior, in his first 5 games, he rushed for over 200 in each game. So 1,000 yards in his first 5 games, multiple
Wow.
touchdowns, and he got over 22 miles per hour 3 times out of the 5 games. And the other times were 20 and 21.
Oh.
So K-State, a client of ours, calls and says, Jeff, is this real? I said, Coach, you know it's real. Y'all wear the same thing. He goes, I just want to hear it from you that this is legit. And they offered him. He didn't have any Power 5 offers. He ended up getting 6. But here's the kicker. He's 5'6".
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But the game changer was he got 22 miles per hour multiple times in a game, and he ended up with 5 Power 5 offers and ended up signing with K-State in December at 5'6".
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
High school coaches.
Burner.
Hey,
As a
look,
burner.
hey, this is what it's coming to now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what I mean. And here's the thing, Jeff. It's so easy to put one on. I mean, they just put it on, put the pod on. After practice, you take it off and you download it. It's
Yep.
just that simple.
Yep.
And if you want to hip your kid in recruiting, a high school coach, and I know a lot of high school coaches, they don't have time to take their kids because they got families, they got a lot of things to do. This is one system and one way that you can help your kids.
You got a huddle guy that does all the huddle stuff. You find a young kid on your coaching staff that wants to learn and stuff. You make him in charge. You know, talking about how much it is and stuff, we've had schools get science grants. Like one of their football coaches was a physics teacher or a physical science teacher. They got a science grant to pay for it. Then the coach used it in their classroom or in their PE class. You could get,
Man, that's
yeah,
crazy.
you could get grants that way. You can get, if you're the AD at a school, let's say like Oak Grove, you got football uses it during football season. Whatever winter sports outside can use it. If soccer's a winter sport in Mississippi, I don't know if it is or not. And then,
I think it is.
and then spring track. One of those kids at Parkview Junior, they wear it in their track meets. Won the 100 last week and got 24.4 miles per hour running the 100. So, you know, you can split it up amongst teams and even girls sports. You know, if girls soccer, you know, baseball uses this stuff a lot now in the majors during spring training because they want to see acceleration and decelerate. How fast are they getting off on the steal? Or how fast is that center fielder getting and accelerating to his max speed to try to cover the ball? So basketball's huge.
Yeah, it is.
These don't work inside the high school version. They don't work inside the college
But the
one.
college version does.
They put up a false GPS thing in the system in the indoor facilities and the domes called Clear Sky. So it works. So they do the same thing for Duke basketball. Krzyzewski still does a clinic for coaches just on the Catapult stuff because he loved it so much. And we actually built a thing that's not a bra for basketball. It actually goes in the hip for basketball, and that's where they wear it now.
Man,
but no, it's huge.
It's a game changer for all sports.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're talking football, but you can use it for anything.
Yep.
You know, and that's what we just wanted to bring to the, you know, to our audience tonight, man. Just talk a little bit more about, you know, we talk a lot about recruiting and different things, man. And I had been telling Jason for a while, so man, look, I gotta call Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said I gotta call Jeff. I gotta call my guy.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been jacked up about this show for a while now since you started talking about it. I've been like, man, hurry up and get him on, man. I want to hear this.
I mean,
man.
It's just something more to look at, and it's fun because you see the kids actually respond to it and play harder. There's some schools I don't even have to call that I'm coming. I just show up and they're glad. I'm glad you're here. Their kids play harder in it because they know I'm scouting for the colleges and they're getting that because they'll be tweeting me 5 minutes after they leave the stadium going, hey, when's the top 5 miles per hour going to be out on Twitter? And I'm like, dude, give me a little time to get to my hotel or back home. Come on. So
Yeah.
it's like crazy. I mean, it's awesome stuff.
Well, man, you definitely at the Southern Elite we'll have them, man, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. How we can, make it more efficient for the college coaches to get it
Yeah.
that day and that time because
Mhm.
that was something last year. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jeff. I didn't think they was going to just right after was. I mean, like soon as the camp was over with. Hey, coach, is there any way I can get that data?
Yeah.
And some of the schools, a couple of the smaller colleges didn't have it. And when the kids started posting their sheets, they was like, man, I gotta talk.
Oh,
We
yeah.
gotta talk to somebody. We gotta get
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So this year, you and one other mega camp we worked last year. This year, yours is first. And then I got to be in New Jersey 2 days later. Then I got to be in Missouri 4 days later. And then I got to be back to Jackson for the Millsaps mega camp. Well,
Wow.
when we leave your camp, I'm going to be in the back seat of my truck in my mobile command unit. And I'm actually going to be uploading the pods as we start driving to New Jersey. And I'll have them uploaded before I get to Tennessee.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew like last year when we started putting that out, man, it was like, man, my inbox was like, you know what? I can't
Yep.
do it
Yeah. Yep.
today.
Yep.
I mean, I can't do it today. It was like I know for 3 weeks straight, every day it was, coach, my times, my
I had
time,
somebody hit me up 2 months ago that
about the
never
time.
hit me up that wanted their speeds from the Mississippi College camp
Wow.
Man, that's
2
crazy.
months ago. And I'm like, sure, let me go look at. I had to find what login I used for that camp and went back and found it and put it and sent it to them.
And that's crazy, man. And so, I mean, because that kid probably say, you know what, I need a verified time
Mm-hmm.
to send to this college.
Yeah.
So he went back in and got that time and said, okay, this is what I did 6 months ago.
Yep.
And so I mean, to be able to give the kids that, man, is something special.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, man, I'm glad you came on, man,
Yep.
because
Yeah, Jeff,
this is something.
how do people get a hold of you and Catapult? You through Catapult to kind of get started with something.
Yeah,
like
The best
give us
way
your information.
is my Twitter.
Okay.
And I'm on Insta and stuff like that, but Twitter's what I live on.
Right.
And that's at Jeff _ the letter XOS, which is our old company, but I wasn't going to change it.
Okay. At Jeff _XOS.
Yeah, and they can follow me. I'll follow back if there's parents on here or
We'll
players.
put that in the description as
Yeah,
well.
We'll
if they
put that
want,
down there so they can get that.
yeah, if they got questions about recruiting or anything like that, I can answer them. Had a kid send me a message earlier. Where am I going to be in camps so he can wear it? And I told him about the Jackson one and the Jackson State one and the Millsaps one 2 weeks later. So if they can't make one, make both of them. The best thing to do is do both. Then you can have. I ran 21 miles per hour in this camp, and I ran 21 miles per hour in this camp. I run 21 miles per hour.
Yeah. And that's proven data.
Right.
That's proven data, man.
And I love giving it to the kids that screenshot. It takes me time to do that, but to send it and have them tweet it and all that kind of stuff is just that makes me feel good because they're getting something good out of it. That
right.
Hey,
and we're gonna try to work up a system this year where you don't have to work as hard.
Hey, my mom says I can't legally run in a school zone because I got over 20 miles per hour. I went, yep, you're right.
That's a good one, man.
Yep.
But Jeff, man, look, it's always good having you, bro, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. Hey, look, if you're watching this show, hey, hit that like button and subscribe. This is the only way we can bring you this content for free. You guys got to help us out a little bit.
Absolutely,
so, like
absolutely.
I said, man,
hit the likes up, and we will. I just put his. We're tweeting it out right now. This show, all his information, how to get a hold of him on Twitter. Make sure you jump out there and do it. And I would say again, if you are a recruit or somebody who wants to play at the next level and you're not getting traction on your recruiting, and we know that it's tough to do it. There's guys that slip through the cracks all the time. Find a
every
way
day.
to get your hands on one of these things, and it could
Get
change
to a camp. Get to a camp that has
And
your
one.
camp that
and
has it.
and
Absolutely.
even if you can't get to a camp, if you want free exposure, catapultrecruits.com. It's in my bio on my Twitter page. Fill it out. It's our prospect sheet.
Yes.
It's free. The colleges pay me to come to the camps. They pay me to come to the games. We don't want the kids to pay any money. We don't want parents paying any money. They got enough stuff to feed their kids and pay their bills and stuff like that. They're not the ones with money. The colleges are the ones with money.
College is one.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt, man. Well, Jeff, man, we appreciate you coming on,
Thank
man.
you,
We're gonna
guys.
get out of here. We've been going
Yep.
for a little bit over an hour.
Yep.
Hey,
It's
always,
great meeting you,
Jason.
man. Yeah.
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, we'll, as we get closer to the camp and we got some different things going on, Jeff, if you don't mind, we'll bring you back.
Yeah.
We'll bring you
Yeah.
back, man, and we'll talk
yeah.
about it again, man. But
Yeah.
Jason, always, man, appreciate you.
It's always
Hey.
fun, man. This was very informative, man. This is
Yeah.
seriously, it's one of those things that I've wanted to be able to, take a look at this stuff for a while now. And it's anything. If I feel like anytime that you miss on a player because for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I hate that part. I mean, we had a kid a couple of years ago that a friend of mine's son that he should be playing college football and he's not
Yes,
because
he's
it
not.
just skipped through the cracks and it's just tough. So thanks a lot for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh man,
Thanks,
no
guys.
doubt. Hey, we're finna get out of here. We appreciate everybody. Peace and horns down.